So I've been thinking about the dollar and the dollar strength. It seems to me like it's reaching a limit. It's been bouncing around, 105, 106, 100, just up and down for a long time. And I did a little digging and I found, that actually the dollar has been, quote, strong for a very long time. It was a low of 89 on the DXY back in February 2018, and it rose to a peak of, I think, 115 in September 22, right? That's like 30% almost. And of course, this was, in the midst of this was the pandemic, right? So it was going up for different reasons before the pandemic and after the pandemic. See, what happened before the pandemic, there was, the US economy was strong, etc., etc., etc. Although the truth is, most of the growth, this 30% rise, 80% of that rise, came from October 21 to September 22, right? So now what had happened, because of the pandemic, interest rates were brought down to near zero, and people were worried, naturally they were trying to revive the economy. But people started worrying, the market started worrying that the zero interest rates would probably pick up inflation. So it was October 21 is when I think the market began to worry, or the market had been worrying, but it started effecting that worry from October 21, while interest rates were still zero, the dollar started going up, right? Fed, of course, was behind the curve, as everybody knows. It was May 22, I think, or March 22, where they finally started raising rates. So note, the dollar started going up in October 21. 6 months later, the Fed started raising rates. And it kept rising rates, and the dollar took to the skies. Now, when the dollar peaked in September 22, the Fed was still raising rates, right? So despite the fact that the Fed was raising rates, DXY has come down. It came down sharply at first, and it's been bouncing around, as I said. So several points in there. First, of course, the market is not an on-off switch. You raise interest rates, the dollar goes up. That's not always the case, as we all know. So the fact is that my sense is that the dollar strength that was really created by the Fed being behind the curve and having to raise interest rates is sort of exhausted. So now, almost whatever happens to interest rates, I don't think is going to materially affect the dollar. So one corollary from that is, Baba, if you have exports in euros or GBP, increase your hedge ratio. Because if the dollar goes down, as I think it will, and there's no telling how fast it will go down, but those currencies are nuts. Sometimes they move like crazy. So you need to protect yourself on that, right? So what does all this mean for the rupee? See, we have our own game in town. We have the election, and people are all, my God, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. So I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen, right? But let's say we accept that the dollar is going to be weaker. Now, if the dollar is weaker and the BJP comes in with a majority, right, there should be a surge of inflows. I think about nearly 4 or 5 billion went out in April. So that should actually move the rupee up, right? RBI will protect, but I think it could break through 83 even. Certainly break through 83. Yeah, could break through 83. I'm not sure how high it will go, because RBI will not be too happy with that. Now, in the reverse, if the BJP does not come in with the majority, outflows, to my mind, would increase, right? So we could see the rupee falling to 84, possibly a little below, right? We need to also, in all this, remember that June 28th or 24th is when the JP Morgan index opens the gates. Now again, like I said, it's not an on-off switch. It's not that immediately money will come in. But obviously, if people know that some 25, 30 billion are coming in the next year, they are not going to sell the rupee that strongly. So net, I would say, dollar weakness, the extent of it I don't know, but I certainly feel quite convinced that it is not going to strengthen anymore. Not at this time. Thank you.